Make sure to use the creator code SHEPPY10 in the Rocket League store. This will help to support my channel and I thank anyone who decides to use it. Now let's get into the video. How's it going, and welcome back to the channel, where today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. So I've had a look at this tier list thing. I've seen a few people make videos on tier lists before, so what I thought we could do is a Rocket League mechanics tier list. So it's going to be split up into 5 separate ranks. So you've got either the high priority, i.e. a high priority mechanic that everyone should know, a useful mechanic which people should know, meh, yeah it's okay to know but you don't really need it, not useful, nah don't need that one at all, and why bother learning it. So I've split it into these 5 categories. You can see all the mechanics that I've got down at the bottom. It's probably some that I've missed off as well. I'm just using a pre-made tier list, but if you do want me to do a tier list at some stage, do make sure to let me know in the comment section below, and you could even make one for me and I'll give it a go. But here we go, we'll start off with the first one, which is half flips. Now half flips I think are very useful at getting back, and if I didn't know how to do a half flip I would find that my recovery time would drop a lot. So it's definitely going to be higher than a meh, so it's either whether it's useful or high priority. A half flip is very good, and I have to say it is something that everyone should learn, but I wouldn't say it's high priority. I would say it's probably only just under the high priority, so top of the end of useful, so we're going to put that one in useful to start with. And now we move on to the second one, which is flip resets. Now flip resets, again, these are definitely not as useful as half flips in my opinion. I think they are pretty good, however I wouldn't say they're high priority. I definitely wouldn't say they're high priority, but I wouldn't say why bother as well. I was going to put them in the middle somewhere between useful and not useful. The thing with flip resets is you use them sometimes just to juke an opponent, but sometimes they can also go wrong. A lot of people mess them up, which is why I'm moving down towards the meh sort of stage. But then at the same time, if you attack with them, it's pretty good. So I think I'm going to go with the meh, only because if you can do a flip reset and it works, great. If you can do a flip reset and then you're just flicking it for no random reason, sometimes you lose 50-50s and it pinches into your own goal. So I'm going to say flip resets are a meh. And the next one is clears. Clears is a bit of a weird one. I mean, everyone needs to know how to clear. It's obviously a high priority thing. However, people also do clear when they don't need to clear. They might have plenty of time to control the ball, take it away, and dribble past a few opponents, but a lot of people just try and boom it. So I would say this is probably just below high priority, just below useful actually, towards the meh sort of way. So clears, I would say useful, but I'm going to probably put it at the bottom end of useful. Now the next one is flicks. Now flicks I do find very useful, but then you also have people that mess up flicks as well, and then it's just a pinch into your own net and stuff like that. But flicks are definitely not useful, because you do need to use flicks to get the ball out of a sticky situation sometimes, to slow down play, to make someone go up for an aerial. The flicks can be very useful, especially when in attack more than defence, but as well as defence you do have to flick it away too, so I'll probably go useful again. I feel a lot of them are going in useful, but hopefully we'll start moving around a bit more. Right, and the next one is wall play. So I think wall play, what it means by this is dribbling it around on the walls, trying to flick it towards the centre maybe from the wall. The walls are pretty useful again, however, you don't need them. I don't think you need a wall play. You don't have to know how to go up the wall and dribble it across, because that's I suppose an air dribble, so we can't class this wall play as an air dribble. This is more just dribbling it around the walls and getting it across to the centre. So at the low ranks, very useful, but I would say once you get to higher ranks, you don't see many people picking it up. Oh no, I suppose you do though. You do see people dribbling up the wall to slow it down, take it into an air dribble and stuff like that. So I'm going to put ball play probably the top end of meh, because I wouldn't say it's as important as flicks and clears and half flips, but let me know what you think on that one, because ball play is obviously quite important, but at the same time I wouldn't say it's super useful. But now I have to decide whether wall play is higher than flip resets or not. So I'd probably say it's higher than flip resets. Flip resets aren't really that crucial, so we'll put wall play higher than flip resets. And now we move into double taps. Double taps, they're definitely not a high priority mechanic that you need to know. You need to know how to do a double tap. No, I wouldn't say that, but they are probably one of the things that dupe a lot of people. So you can get a double tap in attack and just hit it off the side, double tap it across and then score from it. You can get double tap goals obviously and stuff like that. So I would probably put this down in the meh again, because it's not something that's crucial. You don't need to know how to do a double tap. You very rarely score a double tap as well, because it's defended off the sideboard, so sometimes you can overcommit you're trying to go for a double tap. So I'll probably put a double tap at the top end of meh. I would put it above wall play, but I still don't think I'll put it below flip resets. Now we move into ceiling shots, right? Ceiling shots. These, I would have to say, are not the most useful of mechanics out of all these mechanics that we've had so far. I'd probably say this is one of the lower ones. I don't even know if it potentially could be a why bother, to be honest, but I think I'm going to go for not useful, only because sometimes if you flick it up against the ceiling, someone will come in for an aerial to block you and you can take the ceiling shot early and knock it past them. So I will say this is not useful, but I wouldn't say that it's a why bother and a meh. So I'll probably put it just below in here, and that's the first one moving into not useful. And next we'll move into a curve dash. So curve dash, what I think it means by this is when sometimes, a lot of the time you do it accidentally, so this is why I'm thinking maybe why bother. But you go around the side wall, you get stuck in the corners, you know, sometimes when you try and jump in a corner, double jump away from the corner, you get stuck. It's sort of like that, a curve dash. It's basically a wave dash, but on the curvy bit of the wall. I hope that makes sense to everyone. So I would say, why bother? Who needs to know how to do a curve dash? But if anyone in the comments can say a good point of why a curve dash is useful, do let me know. But to me, most of the time, curve dashes are things that happen accidentally and you don't want them to happen because you're trying to boom it away, you get stuck on the wall. So this is going to be the first one down in the why bother section. And next we'll move into wall dash. Wall dash is definitely not high priority. You don't need to know how to do a wall dash. I know it's very useful for getting back and forth quickly, but I wouldn't say it's high priority at all. Half flips are definitely more useful than a wall dash for getting back quickly. And clears and flicks, again, probably two important things that you do need to know. So wall dash is probably going to be below flicks, potentially above wall play. I'm not too sure, to be honest. It's quite a difficult one, wall dash. I'd probably say it's below wall play but above flip resets. I think flip resets is dropping down quite a lot actually, and I didn't expect it to. I thought it'd be one of the higher up ones, but I think wall dash is going to be above flip resets, but not as important as a wall play. And now we'll move into the breezy flicks. So breezy flicks are definitely not high priority. You don't need to know how to do a breezy flick. Breezy flicks just look cool, they look sexy, and if you score one, you go and say, let's be honest, they are pretty cool to watch. And if people do score them, then it is insane, but it's definitely not the high priority or useful. I'd probably go down towards the not useful. It's less useful than a ceiling shot, I'd say, but it's probably better than curve dash, let's be honest. So I'm going to go for why bother, because the amount of time that you spend learning a breezy flick, it's probably why bother. Apart from the one time you score one and you go insane, that's fair enough, but you spend hours and hours learning this flick for it to get blocked whilst you're in a match. So I'm going to go for the top end of why bother, because curve dash is still sitting at the bottom for me. And now we're moving into redirects. Now redirects I think are pretty useful, I have to say. I'm going to probably go for the useful to meh sort of region again here for this one, because a redirect can be used in both attack and defense. So in attack, obviously you can redirect, take a shot or redirect across, and in defense you can redirect it away from your net or redirect it away from a player when you're trying to clear it. So redirects I'd probably say are quite useful. I'm going to go for up in the top end of useful, because if you knock it away from an opponent, you can use it in defense and attack. So to me, a redirect is one of the most useful things to know. I wouldn't say that it's higher than clears. If you can't clear the ball, then you're a bit fudged in defense. Yes, I think we're going to go above flicks for redirects. It's just going to slip slightly more important, I'd say, than a flick. A flick you can do in quite a few situations, but you have to slow it down sometimes. You have to have it on your head. You need to get control of it. Whereas a redirect, you can do it anywhere on the pitch. You can redirect it at any point. Sometimes it's not, but you do a bad redirect and it goes all wrong, but I do think a redirect is more useful than a flick. And now into speed flips. Now speed flips is probably a very controversial one, because if you know how to do them, you know how useful they are, whereas I very rarely will pull off a speed flip or even try one in a game, to be honest. So a speed flip to me is not as useful as a half flip. I wouldn't say it's as useful as a clearer or a redirect either. Maybe as useful as a flick, but I think in my gameplay, because I very rarely use a speed flip, I wouldn't say it's as useful as any of those. But I would say it's more useful than a double tap, because if you can get to the ball quicker before your opponent, you can win kickoffs with speed flips. So we're going to go for speed flips above double tap. And the next one is a wave dash. This is an interesting one. Wave dash, I would say, is useful, very quick for recoveries. So if you use a wave dash, you can recover really quickly and you can get back to defend, or you can go on the attack. You don't have to use boost because you've used this wave dash, and you can jump off the wall. So I'd say you can use this a lot of the time around the map. So I'd actually say I use wave dashes a lot more than I do for most things like clears, redirects and flicks. I'd say I use a wave dash for most of the game, so I'm going to go for that just below half flips, only because half flips, if you can't half flip, I'd find it really hard to turn around, especially with no boost. So wave dashing for me is going to go just below half flips. And now into air dribble. Now air dribbles, in my opinion, can either go one way or the other. It's either you do an air dribble, works perfectly, almost score from it, or you get a good 50-50 dunk or something like that, use an air dribble to clear, or it can go horrendously, horribly wrong, where you're trying to clear it, you mess it up, and someone's just going to take it off you and score, or you try and go for a shot, you mess it up, you've got an easy goal. So it exposes you. I feel air dribbles exposes you. So I'm going to go down to the male ready, even potentially the top of not useful, especially when I'm looking at the other things. It's more useful than a flip reset actually, so I think I will go above the flip resets, but I wouldn't say it's as useful as a wall dash. If you can know how to wall dash, get back and forward quickly, then that's a lot more helpful than doing an air dribble that goes wrong half of the time. So I know the pros that can smash out an air dribble every day, it's a lot better for them, but for everyone else that's trying to learn how to do an air dribble, or can do an air dribble once every so often, or if sometimes they go wrong, sometimes they go right, I'd say they're not as important as other things like a wall dash. So we're going to go into the mare, just below the wall dash and above the flip resets. I feel that will definitely be a very controversial one, so let me know what you guys think of air dribbles and how important they are in your game. And finally we'll move down to a bounce dribble, which I'm going to say, in my opinion, is one of the most important mechanics to learn. I'm not very good at them, I have to admit. But if you know how to bounce dribble, if you get in a 1v1 situation, 9 times out of 10 you'll probably score it. So a bounce dribble to me is a high priority mechanic that everyone should know how to do, and it does take a while to learn how to do it. But once you know how to do it, it's just so useful, especially when I play with one of my mates called Physics. He's very good at the bounce dribbles, and every time I take him on in a 1v1, he'll do a bounce dribble, take it past me pretty much every time. So that's going straight to the top, is high priority. Now we move into backwards saves. Now backwards saves is an interesting one, because if your positioning's not right, a backwards save's not going to be useful. So if you're facing the goal and you're looking straight ahead at the other goal, trying to make a save when it's coming from the right, backwards saves aren't useful at all there. Whereas if you've been in the right position, someone hits it behind you and you can do a backwards save really fluently, then it is obviously very useful. So it's going to have to sit in the mare, because that's all dependent on your positioning, where the ball's shot, because half the balls probably won't get hit behind you and they'll get hit in front of you. So at the backwards saves, I'm going to go down at the bottom end of mare, just below air dribbles, but I would say they're more important than flip resets. I always go defending is more important than attacking. I'm always a defensive player more than an attacking player, so I'm going to put this one just above flip resets but below the air dribble. And next we're moving into backboard defense. Now backboard defense I think is one of the most important ones again. So it's going to be up at the top end between useful and high priority, because if you can't backboard defense, then you're going to struggle to defend at the back, especially when people are knocking it up over you off the backboard, someone comes flying in and scores. If I didn't know how to backboard defense, there'd be 10 times the number of goals going in every game. So backboard defense is very important. Now, is it as important as half flips and wave dashes? I think it is. I think backboard defense is more important than both of those, and I would probably put it just below the bounce dribble. Now, this could be me being biased again with it being a defensive mechanic to learn, but I suppose it's not really that high of a mechanic to, I wouldn't really class it as a mechanic to be honest, but it is part of this. So we're going to put it up at the high priority, and I think a lot of people will agree with that it is a very important mechanic to learn. And then just another thing to add to backboard defense, if you can connect with those ones where you touch it just as it touches the wall and it pings off to the other side, you basically relieved yourself from an attack. So to me, you can affect those every time. It's game over for the opponent, they're never going to score. Now we'll move into shooting. Now shooting is a bit of a dodgy one here, like if you can't shoot then you're not going to score. So I'm not a massive fan of shooting being on this thing. But obviously we're going to have to say it's useful. If you can't shoot, you're not going to score, you're not going to win games. So to me, shooting is going to be useful. Probably put it above half flips as well. I'm not going to put it as high priority just because it's shooting, and that's not really a mechanic. That's just more a thing, a skill you need to learn. I wouldn't call that a mechanic. So we're only going to drop it into useful for this one. And next is air roll shots. Now this is an interesting one because I probably use air roll shots more than I think I do. Come to think of it now, I'm like, oh no, I don't use it that much. But then when I'm in game, I obviously have to use it sometimes to put an angle on it. So an air roll shot is going to be more important than a ceiling shot because ceiling shots aren't used that often. Whereas air roll shots, if you're trying to get around the ball to hit it towards the net, you're going to have to use air roll. So I would put this above ceiling shots. But again, is it a meh or is it a not useful? I'd probably put it as a not useful. I mean, air roll shots are useful. Although actually, I'm good. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put air roll shots up to meh. And we're going to drop flip resets down to not useful. Now, a flip resets being a not useful, some people are probably going to be going mad at me for doing that. But I just don't see how flip resets can be more important than air roll shots. So I'm going to put air roll shots above it. Let me know what you think in the comments. And next is fast aerials. Very important again. High priority. Straight away we're going up to high priority. But whether it's more priority than backboard defense or bounce dribble, you have to have a think about it. So a fast aerial means that you can get to the ball quicker. If you can't do a fast aerial, you're going to lose a lot of aerials, which will put you out of position and probably lead to a goal. So fast aerials, I'm definitely going to go above backboard defense straight away. Now, whether it's more important than a bounce dribble is interesting because a bounce dribble obviously is only for attack, whereas a fast aerial is for defense and attack. So I'd probably say a fast aerial is one of the most important mechanics in this game. If you can't fast aerial, you're not going to beat anyone to the ball, you're going to concede because of it, and your teammates are going to hate you. So fast aerials I'm going to put as our new top, so bounce dribbles are going to drop below that one just. The double jump pop. This is an interesting one actually because I always used to be known my double jump pop when playing with physics. We always just used to double jump, pop it over someone, and we'd find it so funny. So I do like this mechanic, but I have to say this is not one of the most useful. I would say a flip reset is probably more useful than a double jump pop because of the amount of times you get in a position where you can use a double jump pop is very rare, and if you do use it, it's very slow. You knock it up in the air, someone else is going to get to the aerial first. So a double jump pop to me is going to be classed as not useful. Now, whether it's more useful than a flip reset or a ceiling shot, interesting question. So a flip reset, I think, will get you in much better positions if you know how to do them. However, if you mess them up, which it does happen sometimes, even the pros sometimes try and do it, then it can put you in a sticky situation. But I do think a flip reset is more important than a double jump pop. And then a ceiling shot, again, I would also say is more important than a double jump pop. So I'm going to put it at the bottom end of not useful because I still think it's more important than the breezy flick and a curve dash. So now we'll move it into the power slide cuts. Power slide cuts, again, is not one of the most useful mechanics in the game. They are good to use, and if you pull it off perfectly, it's really nice because you can just power slide in, dink it up in the air past the opponent, and maybe score or even get a dribble going. So power slide cut, you very rarely use them, but when you do use them, they are quite good. It's quite an early mechanic in the game that was found, and a lot of people don't really use them anymore, or they don't have the time to use them, to be honest. The game's a lot quicker now, so you're getting blocked before you can even power slide cut. So I'm going to put this down in the not useful as well, which could be a controversial one, to be honest, but I'm going to say it is more useful than a double jump pop, however less useful than a ceiling shot. If you can ceiling shot, take it at the wall, take the shot, it's much better than if you can power slide cut, let's be honest. And finally, the directional air roll. Now, I very rarely use directional air roll. I use air roll. I'm going to take this as it meaning air roll left and air roll right, not just air rolling, because I use air rolling, but directional air roll makes me think that you specify whether you're using right or left. So in my opinion, the directional air roll, not that useful again. I would probably say it's more useful than the double jump pop, but power cut slides, maybe it's a bit more useful than that as well. Yeah, we're going to move it up one above the power cuts, but it's not as useful as a ceiling shot. I feel if you can perfect the ceiling shot, like I said earlier, it works quite well. But a directional air roll, you don't need to use it. People at the lower ranks, if they're going up for an aerial, they'll get the blocking still without using directional air roll. So we're going to put it there as not useful, just below ceiling shots. above power slide cuts. Now that is it. This is them all. I'm just going to take a quick look now and see if I want to move any. I've just gone through them, and I honestly think that this is the way that I would rank stuff. If you were to start Rocket League today and you need to learn something, I would probably do this in this order. I'd say, right, you need to learn how to do fast aerials, bounce dribbles, backboard defense. They're important things to learn. It'd be interesting to see what you guys all think. So why don't you give it a go, take a photo of it, send it to me on Discord or send it to me in a comment, just send a little link to me and I'll go and have a look and I'll see what you guys think. But I hope you all enjoyed this. It was something a little bit different to what I usually do, and if, like I said at the start, if you do want to see me do some more tier lists, feel free to send me either a link to a tier list that's already been created, or you can send me a tier list that you've made. So hope you all enjoyed this one, and I'll see you all in the next one.